Welcome back to the channel Helldivers. Today we're going to go over the Entrenched Division WARBOND, and let me tell you, it is a WARBOND to rival all WARBONDs. It's a WARBOND. But before we get to that, Helldivers 2 has a content roadmap, and if we take a look at it here, we can see that we're in the middle of the March update, which has to do with the Illuminate here, and then we're going to be moving into the Terminids again. Now, we don't know the reasons why, but these are definitely laying out the major story beats that we're going to be going through. And it's nice to see that we're going to be getting another WARBOND in April. And then the next update, which is this regular Helldiver skull here, we don't exactly know what faction that's going to be related to, but you'll notice there's a gap between April and June, and so May there looking pretty empty, unfortunately. But hopefully that update in April, maybe a little bit later into April, and it'll carry us over to that June update. But I just want to point this out because this is the first time Arrowhead has actually given us a roadmap for Helldivers 2, so it's definitely an interesting one. I really wouldn't call this a negative or positive, it's just kind of it's a roadmap. Maybe I've just seen too many roadmaps in my day that they're just not all that exciting, really. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the Entrenched Division WARBOND, because I think there are some things that are pretty good in the WARBOND and noteworthy, but a lot of it is just different variations on playstyles that we already have in the game. Now, moving on to the Entrenched Division WARBOND and all the things that we got in the update, including the Superstore. Let's start off with our primary weapons, and we'll go through this just like a regular loadout. We got the Stoker here. This is a light penetration SMG, and it has a flamethrower underbarrel on it. If you're not an SMG fan in this game, I don't think this is going to move the needle for you. I myself love SMGs in this game, so I think this is like middle of the pack. It fits in there. The flamethrower, not as strong as something like the Stratagem flamethrower, and that just makes sense. But you do have that crowd control option, and it takes about, I would say, two canisters to take out something like a flesh mob. Where mostly, as far as enemies, we're going to be relating to the squids because they're like the flavor of the week. But the Stoker here, it's decent. It's pretty good. The real winner out of this update as far as primary weapons, I think it goes to the sweeper shotgun here, but unfortunately this is in the Superstore. This is a really fun shotgun. It fires really quick. You can just hold down the trigger with it, and it's medium penetration, has that bayonet on it, but again, it's on the Superstore, so that's kind of unfortunate. And I'm not sure how I feel about them kind of putting, I would say, a very iconic World War I type of weapon, the trench shotgun here, putting it in the Superstore. I really feel like maybe this one should have been in the WARBOND. But anyways, I think both weapons are good. Moving to our secondaries, we have the Vito here. Now this loads like the auto cannon where you have like these slide rounds. I don't know the exact terminology, but this is medium penetration and it's pretty good. The sights on it though are pretty bad. They're atrocious. Is this going to be replacing the Senator in my loadouts anytime soon? No, I don't think so. We also did get another melee weapon, or we've had this melee weapon, but you could only find it out in the maps. Well, now you can take the shovel with you anywhere you want, and it's a shovel. I'm kind of sad that we got the shovel in the WARBOND, but not the shotgun. If we could swap the two, I would do that, but it's the shovel. I'm not going to recommend it for this loadout. I would just go with the pistol here instead. Throwables, we do have the Giga Grenade here, and I think this is actually a really good grenade. There is one thing holding it back though, and that is the fact that you only get 2 throwables with this. And that feels a little bit rough. Now there is a armor passive that will bump up the capacity that we can hold by 2. So unless you have that, this Giga Grenade here, I don't know if I'd exactly take it. It is very powerful. We're going to be referring to the Illuminates because, again, they're the flavor of the week, basically, as far as the enemy faction. This will one-shot those flesh mobs, and this can one-shot a Harvester. But more often than not, I find that it takes 2 of these to take out a Harvester, which a grenade taking out a Harvester with 2 throws, that's really good. And plus, this thing is really fun just to throw into a pack of like Boatless and flesh mobs, and it just like decimates them. So I think this is definitely a gold star on the WARBOND. I think this is a really good grenade, but with the caveat that you need a armor passive that is going to increase the amount of throwables that you have with it. Next up, let's move to the armor passives that we were talking about. We got the Sapper set here, so Concussive Padding and Grenadier, 50% resistance to explosive damage, which I think synergizes pretty well with that Giga Grenade because you will blow yourself up, or at least you'll knock yourself on your ass with it a few times, but also increases the throwable capacity by 2, so you'll have 4 of those to throw. I think that's actually really good. There's also a light armor variant of this as well. Now the light variant of this is also concussive padding, but it's hazmat, so it has 25% resistance to gas and then a reduced recoil on your sidearms, so you don't get those 2 extra throwables. I think this is the first time they've kind of changed up the armor passive between the armor types in a Warbond, so you got this one as well. I usually just like to stick to the medium armor variant of this. And I guess we'll mention the heavy variant as well because, again, concussive padding, but it is reinforced, so it just provides a higher armor value. This one probably my least favorite out of the 3. Again, I think I'm just going to stick usually with the medium variant of the armor. Now, moving on to the stratagem section here, we got 2 stratagems with this Warbond here. The first one is the gas mortar sentry. I really actually like this one a lot. Instead of shooting an entire volley like the regular mortar does, it just fires a single round and then that lays down that gas, and it's better at crowd control than the regular mortar. I'm a big fan of sentries in this game. All you have to do is really protect this thing or put it out of harm's way, and this sentry will go to work for you. Really like the gas mortar sentry here. Now we also got the cremator, which is a flamethrower, but it also comes with the tanks on the back. This is very powerful, and if you are a fan of flamethrowers in this game, you are going to be eating good because this thing absolutely tears through the squids. I'm talking harvesters too. It has, again, the range on it is very impressive, and I think that's something really to note about this thing, because even if you don't like flamethrowers, because you got to be in that medium to close range, I think this one has enough range on it where you can just sit back very comfortably and torch down basically the entire faction. This thing will just leave the entire squid army as a pile of ash. So we're locking in those 2 stratagems. Well, what can we pick that's going to kind of fit in theme for what we're going for as far as the Entrenched division? I think taking something like the, well, orbital laser. Okay, that doesn't really fit with the theme, but man, the orbital laser just absolutely slaps. That's what I've been taking the most of, and it's really good at just destroying those parked warp ships and all that. Love the orbital laser, but again, if you want to maybe stay more in theme, something like the Gatling barrage, I think that could work too, or just one of the regular barrages. But again, I would just go with the orbital laser actually. Something that I do think is actually in theme here would be in the robotics if we take either the machine gun or the Gatling sentry. I think these are both good options for protecting your gas mortar, and that's going to be laying down, those plumes of gas that are going to crowd control basically the entire chaff units for the squids. And then you'll have either the machine gun or the Gatling sentry that will mop up anything that comes close. The Gatling sentry is probably what you're going to be seeing mostly in the gameplay, because this thing just rips and tears through flesh mobs, and it's just it's a sight to behold, I'll tell you that. But alright, how does this whole loadout come together? Well, with the primary weapon, either the SMG or the Stoker, just really good at taking out boatless, kind of doing what a primary weapon should do. Like I said, if you're taking the SMG, it takes about 2 canisters to put down a flesh mob. But if you're taking the sweeper, the shotgun, I mean, you just put enough rounds into a flesh mob and they just go down so easy. Both of these primary weapons deal with overseers very efficiently. Just remember with the Stoker there, aim for the chest or the legs because that's where they have light armor. And as far as where does your secondary fit into this, well, I would say it's actually not that important. Maybe you could take the shovel if you want to dig a couple trenches, but we're pretty much covered when it comes to our weaponry as far as our equipment. That the secondary here doesn't really play I would say a huge role into our kit overall. Now the grenade, the Giga grenade, I didn't mention earlier, but this is also an impact grenade. So throwing this thing is very fun. You got to kind of rewire your brain. If you haven't used the impact in a while, you got to know that when you throw this thing, it's going to immediately explode. And it is so much fun throwing these into a pack of boatless or taking down a harvester with them. I wouldn't necessarily use it to take out parked warp ships unless it's your only option, because of the way the trajectory is when you throw it. You got to kind of get close. This thing has a pretty explosive radius, so there's a good chance you could blow yourself up. But I wouldn't use this to destroy those parked warp ships. I would just use this to kill the enemy units. And then for our stratagems, how they all work together, throwing down the gas and the machine gun as often as possible. Completely gonna lay waste to the entire squid faction. the cremator, the flamethrower. Ooh, you're gonna have a good time with this. I don't think you're really ever gonna have to switch off of the cremator because it's got a nice bit of range and it absolutely melts everything. And then for the last pick, yeah, we're taking the orbital laser. It doesn't really fit with the theme, but the orbital laser is just so much fun, and it's really good at taking out, I would say, like an outpost for the squids and just going from one ship to the other and just completely mopping them up without you having to lift a finger. So that's always really nice to have. Alright, y'all, that is the loadout. That is the video. That's kind of my thoughts on the Entrenched division. It's an okay warbond. I think it sits somewhere in the middle of the pack. If you're a new player and you have other warbonds to pick up, I'd probably get those first. Like I said, most of this warbond is just different variations on established playstyles that are already in the game. It's not adding something like stealth that the redacted warbond did. So I don't think there's anything like super novel about this warbond, but I think it's solid overall. But yes, let me know what you think about the warbond down below. And we have another squid faction coming later this week. We will make another loadout for that, but I just kind of wanted to get this video out there about just the warbond itself, because I don't know if I'm going to be making all of these picks for that. Again, the new squid faction and those new missions, because we don't know how they're going to go yet. But I will see you guys then when there's Helldivers 2 content. We'll be making it here, especially when it comes to warbonds and then new enemies. But anyways, guys, that is enough yapping for me. I will see you next time. Peace and take care.